The Book of Proverbs, verse 1. The Lord detests dishonest scales, but accurate weights find favor with him. Alright, what's up, everybody? This is Christian Righteous Gamer. So I want to talk a little bit, I guess, about Sword Art Online. Okay, so I'll try to put some kind of a Christian spin or perspective on this too. I know I've talked about it a little bit in the past. Okay. So the first thing I'll mention is that at one point I made a little bit of a walkthrough about I played the first game they had out available. I think it was called what's it called? Integral Factor? Is that what's called? No, it was called Hollow Realization on the PlayStation 4. I made a walkthrough. It was kind of janky. At one point, I just decided to get rid of it. I mean, I didn't really disagree with it necessarily. I think my reasoning was that I just didn't want. At the time, my channel was going through some. It was going through some changes. I was kind of questioning what I did or didn't want to do, and I decided I just wasn't going to go through all the Sword Art Online games, and I decided just to get rid of it. I mean, this isn't going to be the video's not going to be all about. Whoops, I clicked on there. But yeah, I mean, I think I own most of the games. And I also tried to work on a little bit on some mobile games of it. I don't know. It was really low quality and it's just kind of crap. But I might be interested in going. Oh, Integral Factor, right? That's the mobile game. That's what I was thinking of. It was Hollow Realizations, the PS4 version, and the mobile game is Integral Factor. I do actually think it's a pretty cool phone game, right? I mean, phone games are kind of most phone games are kind of meh, but it's a cool phone game, right? So yeah, I mean, maybe I'd be interested in going through the Sword Art Online, the mobile game. If I did, maybe I'll do some I go through some commentary, maybe I read the words or something. I might be interested in something like that, right? So yeah, I mean, there's some cool video games. Obviously, there's the anime. The anime, I have to be real with somebody. I do like the anime quite a bit. I'm not a huge anime fan. I've watched, I'm kind of like a normie, right? I mean, I've watched a lot of the normie animes that we call the big hotshot animes out there, right? I've watched a lot of those, but I don't really watch or care that much about anime. And anime it's really kind of like a very uncomfortable thing a lot of times, and it's a really anime can be off the rails, and that's kind of the truth of most anime. So, although I appreciate it, but anime can be off the rails sometimes, and they do some crazy stuff. But I do like Sword Art Online, and I would say the season 1 is really, really good, and then they kind of go into this where they go into this fairy world. And then eventually they go into this they fight with guns. They have a whole bunch of filler content, and the show kind of just drops down for a long time, and then it goes into the whole Alice area, and then the anime definitely starts going upwards, right? It starts getting really good again, and it has some ups and downs. It's kind of like what most of the anime is, just as high highs and low lows. And that's kind of like Sword Art Online for you for the most part. And yeah, I mean, and there's some stuff in here that's kind of shady sometimes. Sometimes the characters' ages, and the whole idea of there's lots of Japanese stuff, right? You never really know how old are some of these people. Asuna, I think she's 16 or 17. And you got Kirito, who's 15 or 16 maybe. And a lot of Japanese people, they're kind of perverts sometimes. And and then there's all this sexual stuff, and there's some weird stuff. And I mean, later on, I mean, it's I don't even, again, how do you even keep track of some of this stuff? You got the same thing with Persona. You got characters who are in high school. Some of this stuff it's kind of weird. As being an adult, I think just the idea of I don't know, like, characters, they're like, being an adult and seeing people who are younger, and it's like, I don't know, some of the stuff it's just kind of weird. Seeing people who are maybe somewhere between the ages of like, 16 to like maybe 25. You never really know how old some of these characters really are, and the whole like, whole sexualization of characters. It's just it's kind of weird. It makes me feel kind of uncomfortable. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where, I mean, I get it. The show takes place within like a 10-year gap, and like, later on the characters are a lot older. It's just kind of weird, right? Okay, I'm going on some tangent there. But I mean, like, Kirito and Asuna, they have they basically have like some kind of a really cheesy love kind of story, and Kirito is a he's in like a video game kind of world. It's like a virtual reality world, and the game is set kind of in like a fantasy world. Basically like it's an anime within a video game that you in real life watch, and it has this giant meta. It has lots of meta leaps to it. But yeah, it's definitely like, it's definitely a really cool series, and I don't know. I mean, I would be interested if they actually. I mean, I know they made like 5 seasons of it. I mean, it kind of ended, but it's not like they couldn't just make more. Frankly, it's one of those series where it's like, yeah, it has a high highs and low lows, and I mean, I definitely think it's something that's like a good investment to get it. Like, it's a great investment if you just like lots of like quantity fluff. I feel like that's kind of what the series is in a lot of ways. And the same thing with like the video games. That's kind of one of the reasons I also decided I was just kind of remove my walkthrough. It doesn't have English voiced. It's just kind of like, it's like low quality. It has a whole like JRPG kind of, I don't want to say like a stain to it. It's not like not necessarily negative. It's like really tons of quantity storytelling and stuff, but it's not like rich storytelling. It's just kind of fluff. It's just one of those, like, you have all these different video games, you have all these different characters, and then you have all these different stuff you do, and they talk for hours about a bunch of useless crap. I mean, probably like my YouTube channel or whatever, but it's just kind of like useless, stupid crap, and it's kind of like the idea of most JRPG games. You got like Genshin Impact, just like 50 hours worth of story content for it, and none of it matters. I mean, it's like, I don't know. In most of the video games, it is, right? I definitely recommend watching the anime, but, and it's like, again, like playing the video game aspect of it is actually pretty fun. Like, I've only really played a couple of them. The integral factor in the mobile device, the combat's the game isn't the greatest. I mean, granted, it is just a mobile game, right? Now it's fairly good for a mobile game, but so I played the PS4 version of the first one. I actually think the game's pretty good. It's probably the best one out there. I know they have some of the newer ones, but the combat, again, it's kind of just like it's kind of like just like a button masher in a lot of ways, and I don't know. It just feels like it's just kind of like low quality in a lot of ways, and it's just massive amounts of crap to do. It just doesn't really matter, and it's like, as offensive as that might sound, it's not like heavily in depth or anything. It's like super overly complicated with tons and tons of crap. Most of the stuff just doesn't really matter. And it's kind of one of the reasons why I decided I was just going to stop using I just decided I wasn't going to do walkthroughs on my channel of it anymore. I just can't compel myself to care. And as offensive as that might sound, and I just don't really care about the video games that much. I mean, I might be interested in going back and doing another version of the first one. I might put like a Christian perspective on it, and Maybe I'll make it like a lot more condensed. Yeah, it's a lot of times I make stuff like that just because I want to and because I can. I want to glorify God with it too, right? And yeah, I mean, there is some cool aspects to it. It does have some, it does have really good storytelling at times, but there's just so much fluff to it. And I don't know. Again, like the whole, again, like you got the anime, right? The anime is really cool. Like it has some really cool aspects that a person can the whole idea of like virtual reality, like gaming and stuff, and you're like kind of like physically transported into another world. I do really like that. I do appreciate and I do find that to be very fun. And yeah, I mean, I do like playing like a lot of like MMO style games, but again, they can be one of the big problems with like MMOs, right, is that they're very quantity heavy, and sometimes they have a decent main story for a certain point, and then it's just kind of like filler content. Like a lot of MMOs are just kind of like most MMO style video games are just designed to waste your time. It can be a fun waste of your time, but that's really all they do, right? They used to have they have like maybe a 10-hour long main story, and then like that's just all there really is to the game, and then just gameplay after that. And maybe you can I can be on my channel, like, I mean, you got like Elder Scrolls Online, or you got like World of Warcraft, or you got like what was it, Final Fantasy 14, online, or whatever you might want to call it, right? They usually have like, if you make a game movie of them, they're like maybe 2 to 5 hours long for like the main story, and they might have many expansions, and technically you could say every expansion is its own main story. I mean, technically in a way that's true, but that's really about all the major story there is to them. And like a lot, like like playing, like I personally, my personal favorite MMO is the I like the Elder Scrolls Online. At some point I might make a Christian version of it too. But it's not an overly long, complex story. And most of those types of games is more just focus on gameplay itself. You level up, you grind for hours. You just have a lot of fun. And I appreciate that. There's lots of side stuff to do. There's a whole heck of a lot of fun. But I mean, that's about really. Sword Art Online, I guess, going back to Sword Art Online, it is kind of like an MMO in a lot of ways, but, it's like a single-player MMO, and, I don't know, I feel like the video games, they're just lacking. They just kind of lack, to be honest, and, it's like, and you got, I don't know, maybe I just don't like JRPGs that much. You got Persona, I think you got like Xenoblade Chronicles. Just you got Genshin Impact. There's a whole bunch of them out there. You got like the Digimon or something. To be honest, it does kind of feel like, and I'm not trying to be insulting. I know maybe I'm being a little bit critical in this, but it almost feels like just like an AI machine just kind of wrote a script. It's not. It feels like they just didn't care that much. And I don't blame them for making content like that, but especially the video games. The video games they kind of feel like they're lacking in a disappointment. And even the anime, again, it has some pretty high highs, but beyond its high highs, it's just kind of like most of the stuff is just kind of like low quality fluff. It's just kind of trash in a lot of ways. Like, it's not really memorable. You don't really care that much. Again, like, season 1 of the Sword Art Online, again, it was really good. It was pretty darn good, actually. I mean, I'm not gonna probably go into kind of major spoilers or anything, but, and then they had the whole Alice area. That was pretty interesting, and they had some pretty good moments within the other seasons. You had like season 2 and you had season 3, maybe even going a little bit into season 4. I mean, I guess like, it had the whole fairy world, and they had like the sword, like the whole gun world area. I did think, I did think some of that stuff was interesting. If you were to condense it down dramatically, it would probably make it a lot better. And they had a whole bunch of filler stuff. Right? I think they went on like this massive amounts of journey and stuff, and I have no problems with that. Right? I don't mind side. It's like side content, right? It's like going on side quests. Sometimes side quests can be really interesting, but it's just, I don't know. They didn't seem like they put a lot of effort into their extra stuff, and maybe it's just, and I kind of, I don't know. You have to accept it for what it is at a certain point, but it's also just kind of, it has lots of the JRPG to it. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's the only really Xenoblade game I've ever really played. I mean, to be honest, okay, so like that game, I mean, I did like that game quite a bit in a lot of ways. At least the story for the most part. I mean, most of the main story was pretty interesting. I do think that's one of the aspects of a lot of what you call Japanese anime style games, or just Japanese anime stuff, is, to be honest, it's just too long. Like they make the stuff is just way too long. Now, if you go on like YouTube or something and you want to type in game movie, type in Dragon Quest 11. It's like you watch the game movie, it's like 40 hours long. You watch Xenoblade Chronicles 2, it's like 36 hours long. And you got you got these main stories the stories, and they had all this dialogue, and it just kind of goes on and on and on and on forever. And it's just, I feel like in a lot of ways it's just like low quality crap. And I feel like if they would have just they would go through one of these, like some of these big games or these stories, and they condense it down dramatically, and they just kind of just remove a lot of the fluff, it would be significantly better and highly more interesting. And I think it would offer more value to people, because it's like, and the same thing with Sword Art Online, the anime, right? I'm being kind of a little bit critical, I guess, about the series. But I mean, again, like like a lot of people, they criticize things they love, right? I think this anime is pretty cool. Again, like, they have I think there's 5 seasons of it. I feel like, to be honest, if Sword Art Online was if they just condensed the series down dramatically, it'd be a lot better of an anime, and I think people would appreciate it more. Like, even if you make the series into I don't know, like 3 seasons long instead of 5 seasons long, you remove a lot of the filler, and you remove some of some of the stuff in it is just really not necessary. It's just kind of boring. And if you kind of you kept some of it, like the main important content of it, and you kept that, you put that all together, again, I think the anime would be a lot better, and people would probably be more interested in actually watching it and enjoying it, right? But instead, it's just like this. I don't know. It seems like it just takes forever. And like the video games are not voice acted. They don't. I don't know. Like your equipment doesn't really matter. It feels like they just didn't really care. They're just kind of almost like a cash grab. They made the games just so that they could justify selling it, and they figured the name brand would be good. Some of the cutscenes in the video games are actually pretty good. There's some really good, the video games kind of reflect the anime in a lot of ways. They have some really, really high highs that are incredibly great, and then a large portion of the game are extremely low lows. So you have these high highs and you have these low lows, and that's kind of like most of the video games. They have these they have a really strong, good core main story with really cool epic boss fights and stuff. And then you have just hours worth of stuff that just doesn't matter and just feels like garbage. And in the least non-offensive way, right? It's just oh yeah, I guess I'll get a picture here. You got all these you got all these characters, And most of these side characters, they just don't matter. And like the least, and not trying to be offensive, but like you got the main cast, like a handful of some of the main characters. They're pretty important, but most of these characters in these stories, truth be told, they just don't really matter. And I don't know how much value they really add to the story. And most of these characters are highly forgettable. I don't even know half their names. I don't care about any of their stories. They didn't put a lot of effort into really. It's just like it's just again like that's probably my big criticism of the series, right? Is that it's just incredibly high quantity and a very there is peaks, but the quality is really, really high. They have really high quality sometimes, but most of the time it's just like a massive dump of just quantity crap throughout the series. And it's like you have season 1 of the anime, which is a pretty concise story, and then you have the whole Alice story from the final seasons area. That's a pretty concise story, and then they just have a whole bunch of filler trash all throughout the middle of the anime, and that's also kind of like all the video games are too. I don't know. If you get the video games on sale, I would say they're probably a pretty good investment. The fairy video game, that game is just garbage. I wouldn't even buy that. I wouldn't have anything to do with that. But some of the games are fun, right? They're fun games. They have cool gameplay. They have a wide variety of enemies you can fight, but it just kind of feels lacking. So yeah, I guess that's some of my I guess I have some criticism towards it too. But again, there's a lot of fun to be had too, right? And there's again I don't think the idea of quantity is a bad thing. Like quantity storytelling is not a bad thing. But there's two different points of view. There's quality and there's quantity. And sometimes it's fun and it's enjoyable. If you're younger, you have a lot of free time. Sometimes you just want something to waste your time, right? And you want to have some enjoyment to it. And there is just a mountain of excess amounts of crap that you can talk to people for like 100+ hours, and like you can spend probably 1,000+ hours in all the games in the anime, or you got all the different side stuff, and you can explore all the side stuff. You could just spend literally like years of your life on like a lot of JRPG stuff, and you're not gonna get the highest quality stuff. It's kind of like the Bethesda. You got like the whole I can't. I'm trying to think here. Okay, let me try to breathe here. You got the whole Bethesda mentality towards making content where you just kind of make a sandbox and you just give the players a bajillion things they can do and tons of characters and quests and stories and gameplay, and you can just play for hundreds of hours and you can replay them. And I think that's a really strong net positive for the whole JRPG, right? Now, I feel like, to be honest, as a content creator like myself, right? No, I'm a nobody. I think I have 446 subscribers. Thank you to everyone who subscribes, right? I don't expect a lot of these to get views or anything, but I glorify God, right? Now, I choose to be humble, though. So as a content creator, I feel like there is value to quantity, but I only have so much time in my existence, and while I walk this earth, and I want to glorify the Lord with my life. And pouring like 100+ hours into one of these games or something, it's just so much crap. And I'm not trying to be offensive, but it's just so much crap. And it's like, play Skyrim, right? Some people, you can put like 1,000 hours into Skyrim, and you can keep coming back and again and again and again. And there's just so much stuff to do, but like none of it matters. And like you can play the Elder Scrolls Online. They have honestly, I kind of haven't played the game in almost 3+ years at this point, really. There's probably like 20 expansions to it. And there is cool main core aspects to Elder Scrolls Online, and it's just massive amounts of crap. I mean, like, not even just crap, but crap to do, right? Just so much stuff. And almost all that stuff doesn't really matter. You can just waste your life away playing a video game that you like. And I think that's a really that's like, I think that guy, the guy Asmongold, right? You know, he talks about how he wants to find a video game that he can just waste his life away on. And, you know, I can respect that, right? You know, I mean, but as a Christian, we shouldn't commit idolatry. We should glorify the Lord. Oh, I mean, we shouldn't. Here, what's the definition of idolatry technically? Let's see if I can look that up. Why? Extreme admiration, love, or reverence for something or someone. And then I guess you could say other than God, or replacing it as God in your life. And I would argue that sometimes again, I know I kind of put some Christian stuff on here every once in a while. If I didn't show too much, as long as it's not my personal information or anything too too naughty in there or anything. But even the idea of idolatry, right? Or you could say, there's a lot of different words of the exactisms words. It's kind of like, wasting your life, being a bad steward. You can, again, like, there's nothing really wrong with spending hundreds of hours of your life with some video game, right? But you can also just waste your time on something, and you can just spend you can just spend so much hours of your life doing something that it doesn't really matter. And I feel like kind of like, human beings living here on Earth, like, most of our lives don't really matter. We just we find our basic necessities. We just kind of find some enjoyment. Basically, if you're being honest with yourself, you probably piss off a lot of people on this planet. And then, we just live our lives. We have children, and we just die. And then our children take our place. Eventually, they grow old and they have children, and then, they die too. It's just so on and so forth. And most of life itself on Earth, in a sense, it is just kind of wasting our lives away. And then we just die. We live and then we die, and that's just our life, right? And most of our lives don't really matter or really mean anything. And I guess, like, the whole JRPG mechanic, it's just that's just kind of the way it is, right? I guess that's the picture from the video game, right? Yeah, Hollow Realization. So yeah, I mean, we should try to pursue something that matters, and that's kind of like the same thing with my little YouTube channel, right? I'm trying to spin more of like a Christian spin on my channel, and I guess, like, I'm trying to focus more on the main story. Truth be told, if I do the main story, I'll actually probably finish something, and, like, as much as I do like suspending, like, borderline near infinite amounts of time just doing stupid crap in video games, like, the whole Bethesda, right? And or even, like, Dungeons and Dragons. They got like 25 of these D&D games, and they got tons of all this kind of stuff, right? Kind of the whole RPG mechanics, right? There's just so much crap in it. But when it comes to me making YouTube, right, I feel like, in a lot of ways, it's just kind of wasting my time. And I also question just how much I waste other people's time necessarily either. And, maybe, again, like, this is probably a good Christian perspective. This is something maybe people can think about, right? Is the idea of one's time and how much time you have, and, like, what you're doing with your time, and just how much does it really matter? Or maybe just, some self-reflection and thought we can all have. And like I'm trying to on my channel, I'm trying to focus on just only really the main story. And a lot of times I put like I had the main characters. Maybe I have the main character's like wife, and I show like a character of the romance or something, or maybe a handful of some side stuff here and there. But I am trying to do the whole more like lean and mean kind of mentality, right? Not wasting excessive amounts of my own time, and then maybe not wasting everybody else's time necessarily either. And ultimately at the end of the day, in holiness, glorifying God and trying to promote the gospel. And because that matters, right? And again, like I could do, you got the Sword Art Online, right? It's kind of what I'm trying to focus this video on a little bit more on, but I mean, kind of like whole JRPGs and just it does embody the entire. It has the embodiment of the entire franchise. It has all the JRPGs and the MMOs kind of combined together into one, and trying to find don't stop wasting your time, right? I feel like that's probably a good message for the story. And in the anime, it does teach you, you only get one life, you only get one chance to go around. In the story does teach you that life isn't a video game, right? You're not going to get a restart. You're not going to build up, press the escape button or a start button and just boot up another save file. When you die, you're going to be dead, and that's all you're going to get is one life. Because that's life, right? Maybe I need to remember that too, but now, I mean, if you're a Christian, you're going to become truly born again, in holiness into the Lord Jesus Christ. He is your eternal life. His death on the cross and his resurrection from the dead. You put your faith, hope, and trust in him. You believe and you become born again. You confess to your sins and you repent, and you believe in him as your Savior. And I believe at the end of time, all true born again Christians will go to heaven, and he will resurrect us and bring us to his eternal place of heaven. And then I guess we will spend eternity there. And then that's not good, right? That's like the core aspect of the gospel. So yeah, I mean, I guess I criticize the series a lot, and obviously there's a lot of things I like about it. They got like a lot of waifu characters. It embodies the whole anime, right? Look at this picture here. You got these like crazy hairstyles with different colors in them, and you got these insane fights. You got these, it's just like in Sword Art Online, it embodies like your typical like anime, right? Everything about it is very anime based, and it has these cheesy. It's so cheesy sometimes. It has the main character. It's so cheesy, right? This isn't like a spoiler or something, right? This isn't a spoiler video, but but I mean, like I do like anime, right? And sometimes I just enjoy wasting my life on something that something I like, and I just enjoy spending hundreds, if not thousands, of hours on something that just probably doesn't really matter. But it's just it's something I think that human beings crave. Granted, we don't have infinite time to walk this earth, but I think a lot of us just enjoy kind of wasting our lives away on something we like, something we love. But as a Christian, we should seek to glorify and serve God and his kingdom and his name. Because that actually matters, right? Spending 1,000 hours playing Elder Scrolls Online. I think my PlayStation account says I think I spent like 650 hours on it or something, and that's probably on the low end for people who have like more hardcore to the game. Now, granted, I have beaten the game like multiple times, right? I'm probably like a casual normie. There's probably people who put like 3,000 hours into it, right? But yeah, like maybe just stop wasting your time on stuff that it just doesn't matter, and start trying to find ways to use your time on something that does matter. And that's kind of what I want my channel to do going forward. I want it to matter more, right? I want to glorify the Lord, and seek to walk more in his ways, and then abandon just kind of useless crap. and that's why I want to put more of a Christian spin on what I do. And even if that means I make less content or whatever, or and I know that also forfeits a lot of advantages too, right? And if I don't make thumbnails that pop out massively, and I'm not going on my way to talk about highly controversial things, and I'd be a lot more neutral, a lot more tame, a lot more humble. I'd try to increase my quality a little bit more. I try to glorify God, and I'm probably not going to be nearly as relevant. And that's okay. I feel like there's a level. You have to, sometimes you sacrifice, right? Okay, so yeah, I mean, I do like the series. There's a lot of things. Obviously, I'm making this video because I do like the anime a lot, and it definitely can open up your eyes to a lot of possibilities. And sometimes I enjoy the whole. Sometimes it's like I enjoy a really cheesy kind of story. It's really like a really good, but like also kind of cheesy, right? And it's like I do appreciate the classics sometimes. Like everybody wants to be so like kind of like more modern day, even like more liberal, right? I enjoy the whole traditional stories. Things are just the way they were supposed to be in a lot of ways. It's cheesy, but it's just like it's really good. And yeah, just showing honor to the series. I would definitely recommend it. It can be dark. It can also be kind of sensual sometimes, but it's also just like a great series. So happy gaming, and also make sure you glorify God with whatever you do. And all right, thanks. God is good.